All right, we got an interesting story coming out of Las Vegas. This was reported about 4 or 5 days ago. And so, just to give you guys a little bit of or insight, I should preferably say, in regards to this situation, this is something that I've really been kind of cautious of and wondering for the past several years. A gentleman who lives in Nevada goes to Pahrump, buys, or he lives in Las Vegas, goes to Pahrump, buys fireworks, which he is informed is legal, tries to bring them back home to Las Vegas, and he's pulled over. He is cited. His fireworks are confiscated, told that they are not legal based upon the city regulations. He is charged a $500 citation. And what's worse is he is entrapped. This is what you would call a form of entrapment, because buying fireworks in Pahrump is perfectly legal. So you guys are going to hear the story. We're going to play it here today. And the reason why I want to bring this to everybody's attention is I potentially believe that this guy has a really good case, because even for me, for a number of years, you guys have all seen it, from Alaska to Florida, from California to New York, people always say, or law enforcement, fire departments have always said, buy safe and sane fireworks, but make sure you buy them from TNT and Phantom. So what does this guy do? He sees all the advertisements. He gets a coupon, and there's a lot of Red Apple clips in here. First, I thought this was about Red Apple fireworks and stuff, but this news story, they just used a lot of their video footage from their store. But this took place at Phantom. So he goes from Nevada to Phantom Fireworks. He talks to the sales representatives there. They tell him what's safe and sane and what's legal and all that other stuff. And then his stuff is confiscated. Now, again, from coastal east to west in, not California, but United States, you're always told only buy fireworks from TNT or only buy fireworks from Phantom, especially if you're in California. And this is a very unique case. Hopefully this guy gets a lawyer, because I do believe that this will be a really good fight for him. I do believe things are in his favor, because we've all discussed for a number of years that even though TNT primarily has advocated for against stores telling people that they should only buy certain fireworks from them, they also have the illegal quote unquote type fireworks as well. If you find one of their stores closer to the Midwest, they have aerial fireworks. The ones that they typically advocate against in California, they sell them too, just like Phantom does. Phantom really doesn't make too much of a stink about it. You really don't hear too much noise about it, but it's always TNT. But in this particular case, again, I've even seen it myself. Law enforcement has been telling people only shop at TNT and Phantom. So again, this represents a very unique situation, because he goes to the Phantom store. There's not too many places where you would have a Phantom fireworks booth where they're maintained by volunteers, and then you can actually have an official Phantom fireworks store of the same located not too far away. So let's get into this story. It's really heart-wrenching, and I'll give you guys my thoughts while we go through this video.
Like many Las Vegas locals these days, second grade teacher Errol Aiken is looking for ways to save a few bucks. So some coupons he got in the mail for fireworks in Pahrump caught his attention. But after making the drive out there, he ended up getting far more than he bargained for. Supporting a family in a challenging economy, Errol Aiken says he's never one to pass up a good deal.
So you buy some, you get some free, you get a deal off of fireworks. So I said, oh, it's great. I can save money on fireworks. And the fireworks had lower prices too. So that really motivated me to the coupon.
Now, those of you who are new to this channel, just maybe you're not familiar with this. The fireworks in Pahrump from actual direct Phantom in this particular case are cheaper. They're much cheaper than what you get at the booth. They're marked up about 2 to 3 times more TNT and Phantom. But that's why he decided to go there. So typically those additional prices, you save more money when you actually buy from a particular store like this.
Motivate me to go, just check it out.
It will be the first time he visited Pahrump, taking his 2 daughters to help him select some 4th of July fun. He says he specifically asked staff which fireworks were legal in Clark County, and they directed him to fountains, which were labeled safe and sane.
And before I left, before I made the purchase, I said, okay, one more time. Can you please review the cart? and tell me, are these legal for me to purchase? I'm from Las Vegas. I just want to check one more time. And they said, someone came over and they looked in the cart, said, yes, they're all fine.
But it wasn't fine. 10 minutes after Aiken left the store, he was stopped by law enforcement once he crossed the line into Clark County. Officers confiscated his family's newly purchased fireworks and gave him a $500 citation.
And the officer said to me, no fireworks are illegal. They're all illegal. So I was in shock. I said, I don't understand. Why would they do that?
Fireworks labeled safe.
Now, this goes back to the point that I was making reference to earlier. Law enforcement has been saying this for years. Only buy from TNT, only buy from Phantom because they're safe. They're registered or with the with the Safe and Sane logo on them. Now, many of these stores or fountains in general do have a Safe and Sane logo on them. Even though the ones that you buy in Pahrump, typically most of them will also have that as well. Again, but this gets very tricky because as you're listening to this guy tell the story, he's literally telling you like, hey, well, you know, I asked the store representatives. He's not aware of what I know. He's not aware of what you guys typically follow, is that they still have these different labels on their fireworks or whatever the case might be. But local law enforcement make videos every year explicitly telling you only buy from Phantom and only buy from TNT, which he did.
And sane are legal in Las Vegas, but there's a catch. We took a closer look at Clark County's description, which says any fireworks purchased from other jurisdictions, even those that are labeled safe and sane, are likely to be illegal. That's because they haven't been tested and approved to be sold at local stands.
We test them out for the fact that they don't burn too long, they also don't fly higher than a foot, and they don't shoot any sparks that go too high up in the air. If they're not inspected and approved from the county, we can have injuries to public, we can have injuries to children.
That includes fireworks sold by vendors in Pahrump, Amargosa Valley, and the Moapa Band of Paiutes. Aiken didn't know that and thought he'd asked all the right questions at the store.
Just so you guys know, a few years ago, I used to call around to a number of different fire stations, and they said they don't care. They don't come around checking whether the labels say it's safe and sane on it. The only thing they care about is as long as it does not go in the air. That is all they care about. So this is more or less like even a situation where they were, I believe he was targeted because number one, why do they have, you guys will hear a little bit later in the video, but how did they know specifically what fireworks he purchased? Because even if he bought sparklers, smokes, or some of the other ones, they didn't know what was in his cart. They didn't know exactly what he was buying in order to pull him over, whatever the case might be, because there are certain things he could have purchased that, you know, never would have even gave off a red flag. But aside from that, why are they doing an undercover investigation in the store that's perfectly legal to buy? Like, so for example, you have laws now that have been kind of controversial for years, but they're legal. Like, for example, marijuana has been illegal for a lot of places, but there are places now where you can legally buy marijuana. There's no need for a cop to do a sting operation inside of those dispensaries because it's legal. So that's highly questionable, but okay, let's go ahead and continue.
But he also had a question for the authorities. How did law enforcement who pulled him over know what he had in his car? He said the officer told him that while he was buying fireworks, Aiken was under surveillance.
They informed me they had plainclothes officers, and I said, well, great. If you had a plainclothes officer there, they would have noticed that I was asking employees, is it legal, is it legal, is it legal? They didn't know.
That sounds like entrapment. That sounds like the whole definition of entrapment. There's other situations that's kind of taken apart in that, but I don't understand why they're operating, but that sounds like a clear case of entrapment there. We'll continue.
Comment to that with the police officer, but then I thought, why did they let me go out in the store if I was clearly identifying and asking, is this legal?
I reached out to Metro to find out. They didn't answer our questions about how Aiken was caught or if they had a plainclothes officer watching him while he shopped in Pahrump. Here's what they said previously in a June press conference.
We have established a few points strategically around the valley to stop people as we surveil them coming in and bringing in the illegal fireworks. But we also have units throughout the valley, normal patrol units and covert units that are stopping people that might be lighting them earlier than the 4th of July and taking those as well.
So far in 2025, Metro says they've cited 56 people and seized approximately 5.
Before I forget my train of thought here, I also want to kind of go back. Remember the officer, or maybe I think he was probably a fire department guy, whatever. He said what they typically look for is if it goes up in the air or if it, it shoots too many sparks or whatever. But at the time that they pulled this gentleman over, they didn't know that. So they're really using previous information or information that doesn't pertain to this gentleman as, of course, for pulling him over, giving him a citation. They would have literally had to light all of his individual fireworks to see if they went up in the air, if they met regulations or not. They didn't test any of those fireworks prior to pulling him over, or even test them when they did pull him over. So again, that was a little hole there in their story. They probably shouldn't have said something like that, because they would have had to have that knowledge or pertinent knowledge of that particular firework that they cited him for to make that determination.
1,000 pounds of illegal fireworks, and they expect those numbers to grow. They say what they're doing is nothing new. Writing on June 20th, 2025, LVMPD began conducting fireworks enforcement efforts in Clark County. We are not operating in other jurisdictions or on tribal land. But we learned that's not true. We've asked them to clarify what they mean by saying not operating in other jurisdictions, because Nye County Sheriff Joe McGill told me that last weekend he asked Metro Sheriff Kevin McMahill to stop working undercover in Pahrump, making that request after McGill received complaints from customers, fireworks shops, attorneys, and the Nye County manager. Sheriff McGill says McMahill told him that Metro would transition to a checkpoint, similar to what they do for DUI enforcement. Sources tell 13 Investigates the same thing is happening in Moapa. A viewer shared this photo taken Monday showing Metro officers waiting just outside of tribal land. There, the Moapa River Police Department confirmed that Metro notified them in advance of the operation and has been transparent with regular updates, writing, "We've been actively monitoring Metro's operation, and we have no reason to believe it's being conducted within the MBOP tribal lands." Aiken says his family's experience has put a serious damper on their holiday spirit.
Because my children are older, this is probably going to be the last time I ever touch or even deal with a firework, period. Legal or illegal, I just don't want the liability anymore. It's ridiculous.
Aiken contacted Phantom Fireworks. In an emailed response, they told him the products he purchased are safe and sane, but that police can still confiscate them. They told him once he left their store with the products, he was responsible and they are not liable. They called it a very unfortunate situation and apologized to him and his family, but would not give him a refund. He filed complaints with the Better Business Bureau, the Federal Trade Commission, and the Nevada Attorney General. He also paid that $500 fine, but signed up for a pending hearing to contest the citation. For 13 Investigates, I'm Darcy Spears, telling you what's the deal.
Everyone's talking about.
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer or anything, but if I was this guy, I would pretty much get me an attorney or someone involved, because there's so many holes here, and I know this guy's pretty much brand new to the entire way of doing things. He's entirely to the brand new how fireworks pretty much will go within that particular industry. But yeah, this is totally unjust, totally uncalled for. I left a comment here on this video, but again, these are situations that people aren't aware of, where they run into situations like this in regards to fireworks. But again, they've been saying this for a number of years. By TNT, by Phantom, you have undercover officers inside of their store operating in a jurisdiction that they shouldn't be operating on, because it's perfectly legal to shoot, or not, sorry, well, they do have a shoot site there, because that's why you have fireworks. You have a firework, you get that permit. They're marked safe and sane. I mean, the only way they would really pull you over is unless they just catch you with some stuff that is, you know, perfectly accessible to the naked eye. Like a cop pulls you over and they can see everything. But even if you have it covered up, that would still fall under illegal search and seizure. So this is why you guys really need to know your laws. I don't know everything that was pretty much discussed there with this interaction with them, but you can't just pull somebody over and say, hey, well, this firework isn't safe and sane. It doesn't meet the appropriate labeling or criteria, because again, those specific fireworks that he would have purchased, you have to light them. You have to light them at the time of purchase, or find out exactly how high they go, or whatever the case might be. And secondly, the other red flag is that it's from Phantom. I mean, I could maybe understand a little bit if it was another dealer, but Phantom Firework Booth, Phantom Firework Store, same type of material. Who are they to say that these aren't the same fireworks, or if it's a different type of grade or different type of material? But they can't assess any of that information while they're pulling him over. So I believe this guy is being treated unjustly. I know he doesn't know a lot about firework regulations, maybe in terms of transport or whatever the case might be. But all you have to do is go back to a lot of these YouTube videos where cops are saying specifically, buy only from Phantom Firework or buy from TNT. So hopefully they get their crap straight there in Nevada. I do believe that the Attorney General there definitely needs to step in. I do believe that somebody crossed their boundaries and that this falls under the form of entrapment. But let me know what you guys think below. This situation really sucks for this gentleman. I do believe if he does have an attorney that he would come out on top, because this mess has gone on for far too long, where you have these companies. It's not even really so much Phantom going after the guy, but TNT or these companies, they've worked with what is it called? Unjust enrichment. I forgot what the actual terminology was, but even back in 2020, even Cal Fire was working with, or made proposals to work with Phantom and TNT to take some of these fireworks and then take the profits and then donate it back to their specific companies, which really would create a antitrust violation. You can't work with companies or work with certain competitors and then give them money because they're targeting your competitors. They mentioned something like that. In fact, I did a video on it back in 2020 or 2021, or even maybe 2022, when they were pulling people over and taking their fireworks and then talking about donating it back to TNT and Phantom because those companies are legal, but they have illegal fireworks as well. Just like even in this case, this guy went to a Phantom fireworks store and he got shafted. But let me know what you guys think below. Again, this is Keo Boom Daiken. Like and subscribe, comment here on the channel. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out. This guy is totally just jacked up and just done wrong for no reason.